Disgraced Paralympian Oscar Pistorius is eligible for parole after serving half of his sentence for murder. The 34-year-old who gunned down his fiancee Reeva Steenkamp in 2013 is now bidding to be released and serve the rest of his sentence under house arrest. CGTN Sias Plessis has more.
It remains one of the biggest stories in sport. Oscar Pistorius, global superstar, sentenced to 13 years and 5 months in jail for murder. 6 years later, the man known as the Blade Runner is eligible for parole.
Obviously, that will happen with the intervention of the members of the Department of Correctional Services. So they are only sitting on certain times of the year, obviously not on a weekly basis. So first and foremost is to arrange for a meeting for the parole board to sit and to attend to his application, probably in conjunction with a number of others that will also be attended to on the same day.
The 34-year-old needs to show remorse and in so doing acknowledge and take responsibility for his actions through a process called restorative justice before being considered for parole. That requires a face-to-face meeting with Reeva Steenkamp's family, who have been in contact with the authorities. But this meeting, should it happen, will only be a part of the bigger process before he can make his case to the parole board.
Although it's a preliminary requirement to at least attempt to have such a dialogue, it can surely not be the final answer, because in a lot of instances you'll typically find that the victim's family is not interested at all. In actual fact, to cut a long story short, it will be to his benefit, but it's not the single and most important aspect in the consideration.
It could take weeks or even months before the former track star gets a date before the parole board. But the general feeling is that he will be granted parole in due course with stringent conditions.
Well, once again, he is eligible to be considered for parole. There's no guarantee that he will receive parole, and maybe not even on his first attempt. That's the first aspect. The second aspect, in my mind, I do think he would qualify for parole, and I do think he is going to be granted parole eventually. I have not considered any evidence to the contrary which persuades me that he is not a candidate to be considered favorably for parole.
It has been a remarkable fall from grace for the man who once captured the imagination of the world. Muscular at the peak of his career and with millions of dollars in endorsements. He now sits in a cell depleted of the muscle that saw him reach the able-bodied Olympics in 2012, reportedly with a long beard, cigarette in hand, and waiting for his chance to return to some sort of normality after a moment in time that he will regret forever. Sias du Plessis, CGTN, Johannesburg, South Africa.